Oh, hello, and welcome to First Kick Seahawks. It is good to see you. I know I can't actually see you. That's just something that people say, right? We just say things. Like, we say, it's Turnover Thursday. But it's not fucking Thursday. It's Wednesday. And also, the Seahawks aren't practicing Turnover Thursday today because it's not that time in the schedule. Because everything is thrown off. It's not Turnover Thursday for anyone. And also, if it was a normal Seahawks schedule and I was doing a normal schedule, I would be doing this on Thursday, and then I would take Friday off, and then I would do a Saturday show, and then I would do the pre-show on Sunday or a pre-show on Monday, right? So everything is thrown off. So this is the turnover show. It's not Turnover Thursday. It's just the turnover show. Welcome to First Kick Seahawks. This is the turnover show. Sometimes you must adjust. Sometimes things are just weird, but we must press on. There is a process to what we go about on this show. We have Tell the Truth Monday, we have game planning, and then typically I like to kind of discuss the philosophy of what the players are going to try to accomplish on Wednesdays. We're skipping right over that. I went over quite a bit of that on yesterday's stream, where I was covering a lot of what the Cowboys are probably going to do with Dakota and Pollard and CeeDee Lamb and company, Ferguson in particular. But today I want to hyper focus on Dak Prescott. I like to call him Dakota. I don't know why, I just do it. And Tony Pollard and Zach Charbonnet. We've talked a lot about Geno Smith, and as far as that conversation goes, not a lot has changed. I also kind of briefly want to cover the strength of schedule for the Cowboys and how that compares to the 49ers and the Rams, who we've played recently. And I think we'll find that interesting. I mostly want to bring it up because as we are going through this playoff run of, I want to put the Rams in there now that they have Williams back at running back and he's as dominant as expected. I want to lump them in because they're competing with us at this point for a wild card spot. I want to see if strength of schedule is going to matter. So let's buckle up, and hopefully this will be fun. It was fun when I did it for Brock Purdy. I am going to go ahead and share my screen. If you have any questions that you want me to cover, go ahead and leave a message in the chat. I know some people are popping in and out a bit more lately, but typically people like to listen to this afterwards, so that's fine. So yeah, we're going to share the screen. All of my references today are from Pro Football Reference and Next Gen Stats. Here we go. This is Dak Prescott, courtesy of Next Gen Stats. The first thing I want to do actually is go back to his Pro Football Reference. And let's scroll to the tippity top. The Fortress. This is Rain Dakota Prescott, the Fortress. He's having a good year. 70% completion, 7.9 yards an attempt, which is they're both elite in my mind. If you're getting 8 yards an attempt, ideally 9, but if you're 8, you're kissing it. 23 touchdowns, but more specifically 6 interceptions. And here's what's fun about that 6 interceptions and why Seahawk fans should be most interested is let me go ahead and shuffle by interceptions. Can we do that? Is it? Ooh, my computer is not happy right now. I might have too many next-gen stats open. So when we cycle by interceptions, he's got 6 of them. 3 of them are against San Francisco, 1 against the Rams, 1 against Arizona, and 1 against the Giants. So 5 of his interceptions this year have come against NFC West teams and 1 against the Giants. So there's apparently a really good chance that the Seahawks are going to get an interception this year. And with Woolen and Witherspoon and Bobby and all of these other great defensive backs and, great just cover players we have, apparently the NFC West knows how to pick off Dak Prescott, and nobody else seems to know how to, except the Giants, who might be the worst team in football. So this is fun. This is just a fun single stat about Dak Prescott, is that he's having an amazing year, except apparently against the NFC West. Sure, he scored 4 touchdowns against the LA Rams, but he scored 1 touchdown against San Francisco, and he scored 1 touchdown against Arizona. And in both of those games, he had very low percentage rates. So I'm curious, is what is going to happen, because they've been on this spree lately from the Rams game through the Commanders game, except for the Eagles game where they scored like 20 points. But they've been scoring easily 30 plus points, and because of the pick sixes by Bland, their defensive back, Bland scored set a new NFL record for 5 pick sixes in a season. And because of that, the Cowboys have been putting up, if not 30 points a game, since the Rams game, they've been putting up 40 plus points a game. It's been a superb team. And the routes that Bland has been picking off are the routes that Geno Smith has been throwing picks. So I'm wondering if in this game, if Dak is throwing picks, is Geno not going to throw those picks? Or if Geno is throwing those picks, is Dak not going to throw those picks? Which tendency is going to break first? Is it just going to be a turnover extravaganza where Dak is going to continue throwing picks against the NFC West, even if it's just 1, and Geno's going to throw a pick 6 to Bland, Matt Schaub style, which I've been saying is kind of the direction he seems to be going this year. Maybe not his fault. I think it's Shane Waldron's fault because he doesn't know how to pitch. You can watch yesterday's stream if you want to know more about that and how it compares to Mike McCarthy. And so it's fun just to look at this tendency. I know this doesn't tell anything on tape. It's a tendency, and I find it fun. When we look at where he's throwing these, there's only 1 interception all year. This is the San Francisco game. He's only got this 1 deep interception. And this stream is not about checking tape. To be clear, this stream is about spots on the field tendencies. Because ultimately, what we know about the Dak Prescott offense right now is it is Air Coryell, which is a bunch of vertical routes, and then with Mike McCarthy switching to a hybrid offense, you have also the Bill Walsh West Coast, which is going to be these short routes underneath. So we're just looking at tendencies. If you want to look at the actual routes and what happened on tape, that's situational football, not tendency football. You can go to Matty F. Brown on Seattle Overload, or you can request that I look at the tape. I don't have time, nor do I really have, I don't know how the NFL legally allows me to break down tape on YouTube, so I don't feel like doing it. But I know that, last week against the 49ers, hey, Brock Purdy is throwing interceptions around here where Quandre Diggs is, or he's throwing some right down here in the middle, which could mean, hey, it's a hard throw to make. And what do you know? It was a hard throw to make. It bounced off McCaffrey's hands a little too high. It led to a pick six for, I think it was Jordan Brooks. So you can pick up tendencies on, it might not necessarily be a, hey, Witherspoon made a great play on the ball. It can be, oh, he has trouble throwing to this spot on the field. For instance, Geno Smith keeps throwing these interceptions to the out route, or he keeps throwing incompletions to the out route. But it might not necessarily be the out route. It could be he's throwing problems to a specific spot on the field. And that's not necessarily Geno's fault. It's the play calling fault, or it's the receiver's fault, right? So why am I going to take the time to break down all the footage just to get ready for a Thursday game? So if we look at just the tape and the hot spots on the field, for me, right? I'm not a coach. I'm not going to break down this tape for you guys. Go to Seattle Overload. Griffin, Ty, and Maddie will do that for you. They're amazing. Maddie's a coach. He will give you a better view of that than I will. All right, we've covered all that. So you'll see vertical routes up in here, up in here, up in here. Remember, 4 verts, Air Coryell, and then all this stuff under here is West Coast. These little spot routes, horizontal routes, and probably little spots for the dump offs to the running back, Pollard, or whoever their second guy is that I still have not remembered who he is. And against the 49ers, they have such a good man coverage team that there was not a lot of vertical routes being picked up. As you see, there's these incompletions here, and we don't even know if that was a vertical, right? That could have been a deep crossing or a dig route. But these verticals picked off could have been a Hail Mary. This one over here could have been a vertical, could have been a corner out. And so a lot of these deep underneaths tells us the story. They had 2 interceptions underneath. So if we can move him in my mind, if we can use man like the 49ers did to shut off the vertical routes, because you're not seeing a lot of these receptions up the seam. Remember, the vertical Air Coryell, you want to set up these spot routes up the seam. They're gone. The 49ers effectively shut them the fuck down. If you can shut them down and force him into a West Coast system, then maybe we can get these picks with our guys the same way that the 49ers did. Tendencies, right? We're just looking at tendencies. Let's continue. Okay, so he just lit up the Commanders. How did he light up the Commanders? Well, this is that Air Coryell system I was talking about. When you look at it, it's straight up these seams, right? Straight up these hash marks. You can see he's got just 2 touchdowns right there. Greens, right? We got these big explosives about the 25-yard mark to the 30-yard mark. Got an explosive right up there. And yeah, they have the West Coast system, but it's all near the seams, right? Remember that 49ers game? Everything was out here. And by forcing things out here, they were starting to get picks on these outside spots. And it just by opening things up here, it forces the safeties up top, and it makes things easier on the quarterback down here. And you never really want the quarterback throwing to the blind side on the left spot, because that's desperation county. But you got the checkdowns down here. Maybe those were screens, right? I'm not sure. It's about tendencies. You can make assumptions based off of tendencies. And mostly this is for us as fans. If we can see where they're hitting on the field, you can start to kind of guess where Dak Prescott is going to attack the Seahawks or what the Seahawks are trying to do, right? Instead of being like, what the hell is going on, right? You can kind of get a feel for what's going on with the game without actually having to break down the tape. And if you see, like, he's throwing these touchdowns from this left hash mark. And so I imagine a lot of these passes, he's on the left side over here. And it's making me wonder. We got Tony Pollard's chart for last week's game. Interesting. He's not running near a lot. He's running to the right side a lot. I wonder if their number 2 back was running to the left to set up the near side. Or maybe these were setting up the near side, and I don't know. That's interesting. I didn't watch that closely enough when I observed the Commanders game. But yeah, you can see the Air Coryell system in full effect there. It's all these deep passes right down the middle. Where is that? Which one was the Eagles game? They played the Rams. Oh, hold on. I cycled the game logs. Let me refresh this real quick. I'll refresh it real quick. This is fun for me. I hope this is fun for you guys too. Also, if you're enjoying the stream, I would appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. Here, while that's refreshing, let's go over to Tony's. Oh no. Oh, my internet's not going to go out. Here we go. Washington, Carolina. Okay, so 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago. He attempted 4. My goodness. How did Tony do 4 weeks ago? Tony Pollard ran 12 times against the Eagles for 51 yards. Dak Prescott is still loading on Pro Football Reference. Okay. He scored 3 touchdowns in this game against the Eagles. And it looks like they did okay, but it looks like they were scoring their touchdowns off of the West Coast system. All these short little passes underneath. And I think Slay is still on the system, so I would bet that their vertical passes, which are here, I would assume, were moving them down the field, but weren't getting them into touchdown situations. They were getting explosives, so they were moving down the field. I believe they lost 21-23. Goku, I might have a few too many screens open. My goodness. Yeah, they lost 23-28. Okay, we're closing Dak Prescott's. It's loading and it won't stop. Let's go to this Rams game, which is week 10. And y'all remember the Rams game, right? We were kind of dicing them up until we weren't. They were the other team that picked them off. And again, it's right here in the middle. That West Coast little dink and dunk stuff. And if you notice, no verticals. They had like one here, one here. Looks like they had a vertical over there and maybe a vertical over there. But everything was within these 10 to 15 yard marks, all West Coast little shot puts underneath. And so again, I'm saying if we can get rid of their Air Coryell system and force them to play against man, and this is why I had suggested yesterday, with Julian Love in particular, he needs to play man match and take handoffs. So like Ferguson is going to be running these tight end verticals, and he's going to be like doing wheels. And so we're going to be wanting, Witherspoon and Adams or Jordan Brooks to be taking them up the seam, stopping, and then having Jordan Brooks take him up the rest of the seam. So Julian and Diggs need to be taking handoffs on these seams. And that's also going to be, they need to be taking these outside handoffs. But also, because it's 4 verticals, Trey and Woolen need to be able to shut down a guy. Which means that if Woolen is one-on-one with CeeDee Lamb, he needs to make sure that he's holding that vertical the entire time so that Diggs can take the handoff over here. Because they'll put maybe, if Woolen's covering CeeDee, then Ferguson's going to be over here on probably Brooks or Witherspoon, and then they're going to have to do a handoff to Diggs. And so then Woolen's going to be on an island by himself. So they're going to be in those types of pressure situations, and we need to make sure that this pass doesn't happen, or this pass doesn't happen on Trey. And we need to make sure that they stay in this quote-unquote nice West Coast system so that we have an opportunity to make a play on the ball. Because in the vertical system, they're not going to give you an opportunity to play on the ball. They're going to make the ball so far away from their player that he can't make a play on the ball, or it's going to be just within his reach that he has an opportunity to. Because it's live another day. We're either going to get a 15 to 20 yard bomb, or we'll just try again on second down because we know that we can get it on second down. So we just want to make it so that mentality doesn't work at all and they're forced to play West Coast. We want to make them two-dimensional where they're running inside zone and they're running the West Coast system. Because like I established yesterday, they're running the Air Coryell vertical, they're running Bill Walsh West Coast, and they're running inside zones. Like the inside zone, John Elway, Alex Gibbs. They're doing all 3 systems at once, and they're all teeing off on each other. It's like a Magic the Gathering deck. Like each system is designed to make the other system work, and if you don't get all your cards that you want right off the bat, it's okay, because you can start getting this part of the engine working. It's beautiful. So you need to choose which type of their offensive engine do you want to play against. Well, I don't want to play against their vertical offense. And this is kind of Pete Carroll's thing, is get rid of their explosives. So get rid of their vertical explosives. Get rid of the Air Coryell. Focus on the West Coast underneath. Tackle. Woolen actually fucking tackled today. And then stop the run. If they're trying to do the inside zone, if you stop that, and then all they have left is this West Coast, and then Dak Prescott doing the read option and trying to keep it, we might be good. We might be good, because if we get these picks, like the West Coast has apparently been, the NFC West has apparently been doing, we might be good. And as you see, the Rams did not win. They scored like, I think, let's get the exact score on this. Yeah, the Rams lost 43-20. You know, but getting an interception certainly helps, right? And maybe not getting ploded all over, because when you look at this passing chart, deep touchdown over there, 15-yard touchdown over there, 15. Like, those are explosive touchdowns. You got to get rid of these. You got to get rid of these 2 deep passes over there, that deep pass over. Like, there's still, the vertical passing was still working. But if you can also keep the majority of the stuff underneath, you'll probably be good to go. One more. The Arizona game. This is where the third and final interception, or was this the Giants game? Week 3 was against the Giants. This is week 8. Just making sure. Oh, that was the Giants game I broke down. Yeah, they got fucking totaled. This is the Rams game. I didn't want to cover the Giants. I wanted to cover whatever. I'll do it quickly. Notice all explosives, vertical passing game, Air Coryell, up the seams, boom, boom. The other verticals were right there. And if you see, the interception happened within the 10-yard mark. Haha, West Coast. You got all these little dinks, these little spots underneath, forces everybody underneath, and then it just has the lanes. And you can get these little spots open by running the inside zone, crash underneath, you get one-on-one lanes. That just crashed too. That's cool. Maybe I have too many windows open. We're closing Geno Smith. All right, come on, Dak Prescott. Closing Zach Charbonnet. It's thinking about it. There's also something I've noticed about my streams. There's something to be said about the pause. And I have found that unlike my first couple streams where I was gracefully going through, one thing I was trying to avoid was the I've been doing the a lot lately, and the like, you know, like, you know, and it's because I feel like I have a lot to get out, a lot to say, and I don't want to bore you. But if I pause and take the time to really let you digest it, everything will be fine. All right. Arizona game. This is the fun one. Let me just make sure I'm doing this right. Yeah. This is week 3. They lost to Arizona 16-28. And that's what's most bizarre. He attempted everything underneath. His one interception, again, was in the middle between the hash marks. And I've established it over and over. We want to try to keep him within the West Coast system. We want him to be making these little shots, these timing plays. And it looks like we want him to be making shots on the 5th step or the 3rd step. He's very successful on 7-step plays, which makes sense because he's used to making these explosive plays. But when you look at the Cardinals, his blind side, completely nothing. The seams, completely nothing. He had 2 completions for 30 and for 29, and it looks like 23, 24, and then a whole lot of nothing. Everything was underneath. And he had a short little touchdown. This was the Tony Pollard game where he had 23 rushes, 122 yards. Since this game, Tony Pollard has not had a game above 15 carries. In fact, he hasn't had a game above 80 yards. They just decided, okay, we're a passing team now after this game. Because after this, they beat the New England Patriots 38-3, got shellacked by the 49ers 42-10, and then they've been rolling ever since. But this is the template. Shut down this area, aka Woolen. Don't let anybody do anything over here. Witherspoon and Diggs, shut off this seam area over here. Jordan Brooks and Julian Love, shut off this area over here. Trey, try to manage this. Jordan Brooks and company and Adams, make sure that the corners and stuff is covered, and then make sure that you tackle. And there's the script. They're going to try to do inside zones. When you look at the inside zones that Tony Pollard runs, which is not opening anymore. Let's load this thing. He does a lot of outside. Like he's running inside zone, but the goal is to reach outside. Come on now. Yeah, so let's take a look at this week 3 game. It's all inside. It's all just pounding straight through the tackles. See? Just boom. And he's actually doing pretty good. He's only got the 1 tackle for loss. He's got a bunch of explosive runs. But they lose this game. It's bizarre, right? Bunch of runs, bunch of short up passes. The West Coast system should be running, but he throws the pick. They got the 1 touchdown there. Pollard doesn't have any touchdowns to speak of. They just get stopped. It's bizarre, right? So then what happens after this Cardinals game? Well, I think if you look at last week, it explains it most. Where's all those runs to the inside? They're fucking gone. They're all gone. They stopped. Like, period. He's running to the outside for these big gainers. And then they're using the guards to just kick people out of the way and then just getting him out. And yeah, they'll get tackles for losses, but they're just like, if we're going to run, it's not going to be for 3 yards. It's going to be for like 8 yards or like 5 yards minimum. And it's these big, like, outside. I mean, they're going through the B gap and sometimes the C gap, sure. But every week the goal is, well, yeah, we're sending verticals. And by sending verticals, we're going to clear out all this space underneath. And so he's going to be like most of the time blocking. And when we do run him, it's going to be against a really light box. So he's going to have a numerical advantage, and then he's just going to pick up a ton of yards rushing. And here it is. So if Woolen, because this is Woolen's area, right, is out here. This is Trey Brown's area out here. Is they want to get him out to where the defensive backs are. They don't want him on the linebackers going up the middle. They want a defensive back to tackle him. If Woolen can't tackle Pollard, we might just see Pollard run down the sideline, tomorrow, because they've decided, well, we're not really going to do inside runs. We're just gonna have Pollard go outside. And if you don't believe me, well, let's try this again. This is versus the Eagles. So sure, he's doing some inside runs, but they're running like across. It's not like a straight dive play. And when you look, his best runs are him bouncing outside. And it's not as heavy as it was in week 1. It's mostly just him bouncing outside, trying to counter out to where that tackle is and where that tight end is. Again, Zach Martin is pulling all over the place. There's some runs where it's like Walter Jones and he's down the field just pancaking some dude into the turf. It's beautiful. And again, if you want to look at the tape, I recommend that you do. That's not what this stream is. We're looking at tendencies. And what I've seen is after that Arizona game, they completely changed their game plan. We're going to be a vertical passing scheme, and we're going to try to avoid the West Coast. But the West Coast is going to set us up as like the gears. We're going to keep the gears shifting, going to keep the chains moving, and then we're going to use these zone and these inside zone runs to help set things up. You're like, well, Camden, these aren't inside zone, but these are. And it's not a inside zone heavy run. That's where you got to remember is you throw 10 times, you run once type of thing. You throw 10 times, you run twice type of thing, because the box is so light that you're like, oh, there's this spot that's empty here, or there's this spot that's empty over here. So we're going to audible to a play because, typically we wouldn't, because 3 yards is a waste of time. But we should get like 8 yards on this run. So it's like free yards. Let's just get the free yards really quick. And there's we're running to keep them, humble. That's not what the purpose is of the run game. It's, oh, I bet we could get a ton of yards on this one. Let's just fucking do it. Oh, I bet if we do an outside handoff, they're not respecting the flat anymore. Let's just fucking do it, right? That's the purpose of these runs. So when they're doing the inside zone, it's to take advantage of a bunch of space that's being open. And so they will match it up with outside zone. But when you look at that week 3 game against Arizona, it was inside zone to set up the West Coast offense, to set up the vertical passing. Or it was they tried the vertical passing, which was shut down. So they tried to set it up with the inside zone, and it failed. So now they're doing it in reverse, where the inside zone is not being used. It's being used as, ta-da, cherry on top. And by doing so, it's a lot of outside zone too. So everything about their run game is, hey, look, there's an advantage there. So if they're clearing space on the field and you're like, well, there's all this space on the field, in a couple plays, they might just start punching the ball into that. And it's a scary feeling, because you know that they've been planning on doing that for a while. And they might start doing some spot shots on this side instead of a vertical, so that they can set up a vertical on the other side of the field. It's a really good system. Okay, so we've talked about Prescott. We've talked about Pollard. I don't think you guys need me to talk about Geno Smith. We can go over him really quick if you would like. I just want to prove something. That once again, his interception happened in the same spot. It's the spot I said it was going to happen. Right here. It's where he's throwing all of his interceptions. It's on that right side of the field. Bland. Oh, are they not gonna... Do they not have charts for defensive backs? That's a bummer. Their defensive back, Bland. I think his name is Bland. Why is that eluding me? Now I'm suddenly second guessing myself. Okay, who set the pick six record? His last name is Bland, right? Am I getting that wrong? Yeah, Deron Bland. Yeah, he's had 5 pick sixes in the season. Anyways, he's getting these pick sixes on in the area where Geno is throwing them. He's getting them on those out routes, on the flats down there. Be ready for that. I was hoping that there was going to be a chart for Bland. But there's not. I don't know why I didn't think to check that before. It was just something that came up. Zach Charbonnet. His EPA is still right with fucking Mozart. So that's cool. He has only technically been a starter for 2 weeks, so we don't have a lot of stats on him. I want to compare the Rams game to the 49ers game. And kind of what to expect, I think, against this Cowboys front, which I would say is very comparable to the 49ers front. And we are just going to wait for this bitch to load. All right. Rams front. Got Aaron Donald in the middle. You got the outside linebackers. Aaron Donald pops the bubble. Outside linebackers go from the outside. What we did this game was we had Charbonnet run up the middle, and you could see his success at that. Let me go ahead and pull up. I had to close it because I was having some problems with my computer. Come on, vamonos. I'm just happy that my internet hasn't crashed. I don't know what's going on right now. Sometimes things just aren't perfect, and that's okay. All right. So he had 15 rushes against the Rams for 47 yards. And most of them are inside. He had these 2 handoffs that didn't do much. But most of them were inside. And again, they were just containing the bubble so well. When you go against this 49ers squad, it looks a little bit more like what the Rams are doing with Pollard. Sorry, the Cowboys are doing with Pollard. These outside handoffs. But if you notice, they're mostly all just going to the left. And I find that really fascinating there are some of these weird, like he's dodging bullets plays. I think that's because we had Forsyth in at right tackle, and we haven't been running behind Peters. So if Abe Lucas is healthy, I would like to see if we can run right side. What happened against the 49ers is what's going to happen against the Cowboys. And I'm going to use Armstead and Pollard as the example. And I talked about this yesterday. Armstead is going to pop the bubble, and he's going to try everything he can to get to the third step where the quarterback and the halfback are meeting for the handoff. And then Pollard is going to do everything he can to get to the fifth step. That's either going to be where the running back is going to be, or upon play action, that's going to be where the quarterback is going to be, whether his assignment is rush the passer or to drop into coverage, because Pollard has been known to do that. But more often than likely, he is going to rush the passer, rush the rusher. And so what has effectively been happening is that they're bursting the bubble, and then the running back is running into the waiting arms of Pollard because they're teeing it up so perfectly. And so the inside handoff is just non-existent. And so if we can only do this left side handoff, we will be screwed against the Cowboys. I would really hope with Abraham Lucas coming in that we will be able to start pulling Lewis and start really engaging that right side and start running right. Because if we can pull Lewis, then we can start doing things like shove Armstead out of the way, or maybe even hold Lewis and then pull Cross and shove, their end out of the way, and then push Pollard or Armstead into each other and disrupt that, because that's going to destroy our run game. And again, we've kind of established that Shane Waldron has no interest in running the ball. He has no desire to do so. But if for some reason this week he's like, okay, we got Abe Lucas back, we're going to start running the ball now, that could be a good opportunity to start actually using the left side of our line to actually attack their rushers. Because as we've established in earlier streams, the rushers are like wide receivers. They have certain routes that they need to hit to. They need to get to certain spots on their D-line, attacking the O-line. And so if we can get our offensive line to obstruct Armstead and Pollard, especially if they're only sending 3 guys on rushing plays, if we can trick them in play action and get in rushing plays, and then they drop into that, and we have a running play where they're only sending 3, and we can pull a guy, we can get explosive runs. If we really are trying to pass first, trick them with run plays, then there's no reason why Zach Charbonnet cannot be successful, other than the Cowboys are really good, right? They get to play football too. But it's a matter of how we tee it up. It's a matter of where we run the ball. I don't want to see him running weak side, which is my favorite side to run. I love running weak side, but because we don't run strong side, period, it's not setting him up for success on the inside runs, because then they're just stacking the weak side, and we're not adding anything to help him. And it's just going to either get him stuffed, or it's going to lead to the quarterback never going to have an asset on play action, which I've established is if you're not respecting the run, then that one step advantage for play action is never going to be established. And with Gilmore and with Bland, and I think Tay Diggs is still on the Cowboys, they're just going to shut us down, and we're not going to have any vertical passes down the field. And and Geno's going to get picked off on a flat and maybe picked off on a comeback or a fade route to DK on the left. It's going to be an ugly game, simply because, unlike the Cowboys, our offensive scheme isn't designed so far to help one another. And I'm getting sick of it. So to review, we need to cover the vertical passes and make sure that we do man match to make sure that there are no deep explosive passes on us from the Don Cares system. We want, if there are explosive passes, for it to be a West Coast system, because as we've seen through Dak Prescott's tendencies, he throws interceptions underneath within 10 yards when he's in the West Coast system. Specifically in the middle is when he's doing it. So if we can put him under pressure where he's not throwing these spot routes and verticals, and it's all underneath, we have an opportunity to pick him off, especially because for some reason, 5 of his 6 interceptions this season have come against NFC West teams. Second, if we can keep Pollard and their other running backs on the inside tackles and not on the outsides, we'll leave their running game one-dimensional, which is they've kept it outside all season. And if we can maintain that tendency, which the Arizona Cardinals did in week 3, that might give us an advantage against that West Coast system that will keep their chains moving. And we'll be able to keep all of that contained and just kind of keep them on life support, where instead they're doing check downs instead of trying to do a dig route or a slant, because they won't be running outside, moving people out of the way. And then as far as us taking care of the ball on our side, honestly, if Shane Waldron wants to be successful, he should throw away whatever he's been trying to do, dust off whatever Brian Schottenheimer was doing with Russell Wilson, and do that, because Brian Schottenheimer is just doing that with Dak Prescott. We're running a West Coast system. He's running, a running back, and then they're throwing verticals. The only difference is he has a quarterback that can run the West Coast system. Russell Wilson really couldn't do that. He had to teach Russell how to do it. And Russell could throw verticals. So Dak can throw verticals, hurrah. And then Dak can play the West Coast system. He audibles between the two. Pollard can play both. And now Pollard is like the third. He's like an accent piece. So if Shane Waldron wants to be a pass first team, let's go to a vertical offense, and then let's have Geno switch to a West Coast whenever the team is showing man coverage against our guys, and then let's do some inside zones to the right side, or let's do some inside zones to get us to the near side so we can throw some stuff to the far side for Geno. Like let's just copy the Cowboys at this point, because it's basically what Shane Waldron seems to want to do. He just doesn't pitch it the right way, because he doesn't seem to want to set to any specific rhythm. Geno, don't throw an out route. Bland's going to pick it off. He's going to take it for a pick six. It's going to be the 6th one of the season. He's going to continue this NFL record. And then you're going to get Matt Schaub out of Seattle. That's all I have for Turnover Thursday. Thank you so much for listening to First Kick Seahawks. I really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe. It would really help out the channel. At the very least, I'm grateful for you taking the time to watch. Go Seahawks. I will do like a pregame tomorrow, and then I'm going to try to do another live stream for this game. Hopefully it's better than the 49ers game. And otherwise, go Seahawks. You all be well.